Hello, I'm Mike Ryan. I'm the Chief Networking Officer at PIMS, and welcome to our second season of Minutes with Mike. Now in my 33rd year at PIMS, I've had the privilege of partnering with companies both large and small, supporting their PR and marketing through customized fulfillment and distribution that delivers measurable impact on their brand perception, boosts positive affinity, and fuels their overall brand performance. And throughout my career, I've had the chance to work alongside many talented folks. This is their story. On this show, we'll sit down with some of the world's top marketing and business thought leaders to learn more about their success, how they got there, how marketing helped them achieve their goals, what strategies they used, and what inspires them. Please join me on this journey as we learn from those who are changing the way we think about business. So sit back, enjoy. You're listening to Minutes with Mike. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Minutes with Mike. I'm with my pal, Nick Vaus from Free the Birds. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you so much, Mike. So good to see you and to be part of this.
I met Nick in the flesh, actually. I think the first time we met was it in London?
I think it was.
But I had heard a lot about you. I talk about Inacos quite a bit because we have a lot of guests that are associated with it. But Dave Silbergleit, the CEO of PIMS, came back. And he, of course, gives me his run through of everybody that's wonderful that he met with, you being one of them. And he's like, you got to meet this guy. He's great. The company is unbelievable. So after meeting you in London, of course, I couldn't wait to get you on Minutes with Mike to talk a little bit about you and your world and certainly Free the Birds and where you've come from. Let's start from that. Let's jump right in. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your past, your background, where it started and where you came from.
Sure. I mean, I've always been interested, passionate about design. It's something that it's probably the only area I really excelled in at school. I really struggled at school, to be honest. I'm dyslexic, and that probably back in the day wasn't recognized. So
it was lazy. It was called lazy back then. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or just work harder.
Right.
It was really interesting, actually. I remember my dad was clearing out a few things recently, and I just read some of the reports from school. And it was like, he's got so much enthusiasm and from all the teachers, but he really fails, at the exams. Yeah. And it's like, it just wasn't recognized at the time. But I am very determined and hardworking. And I think I just put all that focus through creativity. It was the thing that I really excelled in. And I found that was going to be my path in life. And so that was the area. So art, I was really good at, and design. And
does it start, Nick, does it start with like sort of, I kind of look at my older sister. My older sister works for a graphic design company in New York. Yeah. And she started off when we were kids. She was always the one that you'd run to and say, draw me a picture of a pumpkin, draw me a witch, whatever it's going to be. Yeah, were you that kid too? Like that just sort of...
Kid. Yeah, I was that kid. I was the kid that used to draw up like Disney posters, and my nan was so proud of them. And she used to go around the flats and show everybody. And like, oh my God, he copied Donald Duck or something. That was really early age, not now. And yeah, so all of that was my path. That I was always drawing. I was kind of expressing myself through design, probably because language or words and maths was always a struggle. So the best way for me to kind of express myself was through design and art. So I took that forward and I went to university and I studied in graphic design and communications. And then from that point, this was way back in the 90s. And then from that point, I got a job straight away. You used to, back in the day, and you still do now to some extent, you put on a big degree show and you had people from the industry used to come and look at your work. And often, if you were fortunate enough, they used to leave their business card and then you went for an interview. So that's how I started. And I haven't stopped since. And I've always bounced from agency to agency. I was a bit like a sponge. I wanted to learn. I wanted to experience the big agencies. I wanted to experience the small agencies, the family-run businesses. And I did that for lots and lots of years. I did a bit of freelancing, which was great exposure. And then I settled on a particular agency that always was using me from when I was on that kind of freelance circuit. And they tempted me to stay. And they also were talking about a succession plan. They were thinking about retiring. So I spent many years there and I kind of earned my stripes. And eventually I was fortunate enough to take over the agency. And they left. And then I formed Free the Birds. So we changed the name because it had the founding partners from the previous agency. So I inherited a lot of great stuff, and then I could take it forward and create it of how we wanted it to shape up and what it is today.
Design. We offer at PIMS design capabilities too, and usually they're around the structure and engineering of the boxes,
Yeah.
and we're going to talk about that at length. But we always have that feeling of you have to have a guy, right? Everybody has a guy that does this specific thing. Like sometimes we use dry ice, and I'm like, I got a guy. Sometimes we need,
You have a guy for dry ice?
yeah, a guy for everything. So graphic design is the same thing. Do you have a guy? Like that's what clients would always start. Do you have a guy that could? That really does hit home. I didn't know where the origin of Free the Birds came from. So of course I looked it up.
Okay.
And I looked at your LinkedIn profile, and I saw the little notes there. But tell everybody, because it's really cool. And here, I was thinking about this morning too. So my wife's an animal lover, nature freak, and I'm a historical buff. Like anything historical, usually around the world wars, but anything having to do with anybody of historical significance bites to me. Anything to do with nature and animals bites to her. So it's really like a marriage, certainly a marriage for she and I of this.
Yeah.
Of the perfect name. But tell us where you came up with that.
Yeah, well, actually, just even rewinding a little bit. So when I formed the agency, I brought in somebody who I'd been working with on a mutual client, and it was someone from the advertising world. And branding and identity design agencies never really mix with advertising agencies. They just a bit oil and water. But I really got on with Paul. And so I brought him into the business, and he's a business partner now with me. And when we were thinking about renaming ourselves, he is the one who created this name for us. But we are always, and we always have been around beautiful thinking. So beautiful thinking is something that we have in neon. I've got it on the wall behind us. It is, it's the thinking, the strategy behind it, but also the beautiful aesthetic of what we can create and how we can elevate. So we asked everybody actually in the business, like, who do you think is a beautiful thinker? Could be dead or alive. And around the whole table, a lot of people were saying Leonardo da Vinci. So that's interesting. Keeps coming up. I mean, he's incredible, right? Sent from the future, I think. Architect, polymath, just everything, you name it at the time. He can even write backwards. Incredible artist, blah, blah, blah. And then, so Paul went off, and Paul is a master of copy. I mean, that's why I think that this partnership's really valuable for the agency, because my visual aesthetics of how things should look and his language, and we really combine those two things. So every client receives a brand manifesto. We have all the brand assets to go with it. So that kind of unit is really, really important to us. So he went off and he did some research about Leonardo da Vinci. And there was just a beautiful insight that when Leonardo was in native Florence, if he was walking through a market and he saw a caged bird and he saw the bird for sale, he used to buy the entire cage and set the bird free. So we love that motto of Free the Birds.
Love that.
And actually what we can do with our clients, because it's problem solving. We're here to about elevation. So they've got themselves in a bit of a pickle that, what's the problem that we need to help and solve? It is about elevation in terms of the ideas need to be an absolute step up above the rest. Everyone's fighting for the same space, but it's also about elevation of sales. It's what we do while we're here, consumer and branding, but also probably more importantly for the team is that all the people that we employ, we're here to nurture wherever they go. And it's not a locked cage. It's a great experience of being part of the family, and they're here to learn as much as they can before they set flight themselves. So yeah, it's just got a really lovely chime to it. And I think, a lot of agencies might just have the names of the founders above the door, but we just really loved the motto about what Free the Birds actually is and where we can take it in the future. Who knows what else it could be.
I love it. It's great. I akin Free the Birds to PIMS a lot because, we certainly see each other a lot at trade shows. Before we came on, we were talking about
and the
trade
pub.
shows. What's that?
And the pub.
Yeah,
We're not drinking.
but we can't forget about that. But we, the certain trade shows we go
Yeah.
to engage our clients, whether they're existing. Tell me a little bit about your services and how they've evolved, right? Because just looking from my perspective to today, the world is a different place, and we are much different as well. So I'm sure in your world as well, as the technology develops, and we'll talk a little bit about that down the road
Yeah.
too. Tell me how your surrounding your services, your primary services, what has been the transition there?
Absolutely. I mean, it's, oh my goodness, hasn't the landscape changed so much from, I
Yeah.
mean, and also where that proportion of what you used to earn and where the proportion of, and what the size of the agency used to be. I think what's happening right now, a lot of clients are taking a lot of the production away. So they're doing that themselves, or they're using it, or using much cheaper resources and things like that. We are an ideas agency. That is what we are. We are create ideas. We can bring them on to life on packaging. That's often the kind of the vehicle that our clients need us to help with, and we can do that brilliantly and with our eyes closed. And that's something that we do incredibly well. But at the end of the day, it's the ideas, how we're communicating those ideas, how we can elevate ourselves above the competition. And I think that's the thing that clients really struggle with, having that space, that headspace to create those ideas. Implementation, of course, we can help, but anyone can actually run something through. So that's the primary thing. That's our gold, and that takes a lot of our creative effort. And yeah, that's something that we just absolutely enjoy with an absolute passion. So yeah.
I'm guessing, and you can fill me in on this end of it too. On our end, sometimes depending on the client and the timing, the focus will be the clients will come to us and say, we want to recreate this exact message. We want to do this. We want to do that. We just need you guys to sort of make it come to life for us.
Yeah.
And then there's others that come to us and say, we have a logo and a budget, and next Thursday we need to do this.
Yeah.
Fill in the blanks, right? So I'm sure that happens a lot on your end. How does that creativity work? And, it's great to hear, just going back to what you said a minute ago. I always feel that you have to be able to, especially when you're, running and working your own company, you have to be able to, know what you're good at, what your wheelhouse is, and then bring in people that can add to that, right? So it's fabulous that you can have a design person that's focused on that design effort. And thanks for the plug with the Minutes with Mike mug, and and have a partner that's the linguist and sort of brings that to the table too. So going back to my question again, maybe you could talk a little bit about some of your clients, some of the best practices you've had there, and what their expectations are, as they come to you. I'm sure that's vast, but
absolutely. I mean, we have kind of, I guess, if I have to break it down, of course, every single client's different, but the two main kind of paths that will come knocking on our door is brand creation. So I need some help. I've got an idea. I haven't got a name. I know where I want it. I sort of know where I want it positioned. I might need to put it, I might need to get an investor pack together. So that's the early stages of a brand, but that could also be, established brand that might want to migrate into a different category. So they need some real heavy lifting with ideas, with the naming, with the packaging, with how it's going to be expressed, with the positioning, with the brand architecture, how we're going to differentiate across anyone else, how we're going to create some clear water around this particular brand. So really the more strategic thinking behind it, all of those things. So that kind of goes into a brand creation project. And the other avenue that people come knocking on our doors is the brand revitalization. So I've got an established brand. It's done pretty well over the last 5-10 years. We're looking for the next either round of seed funding. We need to elevate ourselves a bit more, or we've had a comment from our consumers or the retailers. We think it's a little bit tired. We don't want to change ourselves too much because we still need to have that recognizable aspect of the brand on the shelf. We don't want to create any confusion, but we do need to elevate ourselves further. And there's an opportunity there, particularly with heritage brands that have been around for a long time. They need to be relevant. They need to keep fresh. So how we can help them with that. So there's probably those two areas that we help with our clients. And but to be honest, I mean, you kind of think, oh yeah, the creation one's always the favorite one. Actually, they're both equally cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they both have got their own individual challenges. They've both got their individual. processes and different twists and turns that it's going to go. So yeah, there's kind of there are those two paths, and I think within our specialisms as well, health and beauty, they do have different time scales to them as well. A lot of the healthcare clients that we do, that a lot of that has to be regulatory and researched quite a lot. So the time scale of that changes quite a lot. I think the beauty ones are much more fast paced that can come through the studio. But yeah, the opportunities is, I love getting the idea, not just from the packaging point of view, but how we can express it through social, out of home, all of those different activations that we can help and bring it to life with.
I think too, when you talk about, and we all have our specialties, but we're all in the, in the client service world, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Open lines open lines of communications and, expectations and making sure everybody's on the same page. These are struggles that, regardless of what your industry is, the folks have to deal with, right? Our clients work with us, I think, because we are of the world where we're just not head nodders, right? We're not just yes men. We are going to make sure, and what you said about, certain regulations being followed and such, a lot of times, folks don't put that stuff in perspective, like when we're shipping alcohol or we're doing a big project, right? And dry ice is involved, stuff like that. People, when they have the drawing board out, they don't akin that sort of bad news that might come with, making sure it's done right. But I think in the long run, building that client trust is really built on not giving them bad news, but telling them like it is, right?
Yeah, of course.
You can't do this because of that, or here's why this is not such a great idea. Maybe you didn't consider this. I don't know if you have anything that comes to mind when you think of that.
Yeah, and I think that, that often when you meet a new client, it's quite hard to actually get across those negative points or those things that they need to watch out for. But I think that, they are paying for expertise. So you do have to be honest and you do have to be completely transparent. I think once you've formed that relationship, the trust is completely there and it will never go away.
Right.
They will rely on you. And, time and time again, our new business pipeline is the fact that we have a huge amount of repeat business from clients because they love working with us or they completely trust us. So, I think that it's one of those things that you just have to navigate your way through with how much you want to give them some hard facts around some things they haven't actually thought through. But I think that, that, as I said, that I think they're paying for your expertise. So you have to be completely honest.
That's exactly right. That's spot on.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, I was asked to sit in on a panel discussion from a company that does facial recognition, right?
Yep.
My end of it has to do obviously with this new technology and AI and how it's going to tie in with it. And when you think of artificial intelligence, you don't automatically think of warehousing and fulfillment, right? But I'm sure just like your business, our business is ever changing. And it reminds me of days of old, right? Like when people didn't send out samples. First time we were asked to do a sample, we were like, how are we going to do this, right? Or when, believe it or not, I'm this old, like before FedEx and UPS really got a hold on shipping, like everything went through the mail. Things change, and this is just another step in the change. I'm curious on your end, how do you see that sort of technology, that new technology, specifically maybe to AI, tying in with your service offerings?
I love AI. I don't think it's anything I think you have to embrace technology, whatever.
Even if we don't know exactly what it is yet.
I know exactly, yeah. But for us, I mean, visualization, for example, the likes of DALL-E 3 and the likes of Midjourney, we are using those because it's so good in terms of visualization. I'm not talking necessarily things to actually deliver right at the very end for a client or replacing a photo shoot, but just to get those concepts. If I'm doing a mood board, if I'm doing a storyboard to show how we would want to do a film, it can visualize that so much quicker and it looks professional and it just saves us just sketching out those ideas. That makes it feel real, makes it feel really believable for a client. So we can sell in those ideas a lot quicker. The client actually accepts those ideas. That has saved us a huge amount of time. So we can come up with those, what it can't do is the ideas. We create the ideas, we're feeding the machine to deliver the visualization for us. And for me, that is about us taking control onto this machine, and we're getting things that's going to elevate our ideas even further. And that's what I'm really fascinated by. And even right now, we can not only create those images, we can give them a bit of movement as well. So we haven't gone into that step of delivering AI for a client, but we're using it a lot for concepting. And I'm really enjoying that journey.
The day that design is building in algorithms for a visual, that's incredible.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's what I'm really fascinated by is how quickly it's moving and developing.
It's insane.
Right? This time last year, it couldn't do fingers.
I know.
And now it can do really good fingers.
It's incredible.
To some degree. I mean, it does kind of mix things up and it makes you laugh, but it does save a lot of time, because I'm just really encouraged that you're getting the results you need to get the ideas across to your client. So that just helps us all. In the end, we're there to get some really good ideas, and we're using AI to support us with doing those things. I mean, back in the day, we might have just we may have just downloaded like 3 or 4 Shutterstock or royalty-free images. We'd be cutting them out, we'd be pasting them together. Back in the day, we'd be putting them in the spray booth, spray pasting it. We're talking about all this stuff. The younger generation would be like, what are you talking about?
I know. It's so true.
Home board.
How did we get here? I was always the youngest one in the room, and they would look to me for the young thoughts. Now, all of a sudden, I'm the old man. I don't know what happened.
The thing that myself and Paul, we're obviously the oldest in the studio, but we are the ones who are really embracing AI the most. I've got all the passcodes. I'm like, use it. And awesome. I honestly don't think I think you have to embrace technology completely. You do not ever be afraid of it. It is there to support. It is not there to replace.
Yeah, and listen, it's not coming anymore. It's here, right? And like you said, like you're either going to get on board and learn this and use this, or you're going to fizzle, right? So we all have to completely use that creativity, so to speak. I know another word that you love a lot, and so do I. It used to be a buzzword not too long ago. I remember nobody had mentioned this, and then it came on and it was a rage, and that's sustainability, right? Everybody came out of nowhere. That was the big thing for a while, especially on our end, right? Because you're designing these packaging that we're going to be using, and clients would come to us and say, like, we needed to do this, and this. Oh, and by the way, what do you have in the form of sustainability, right? And that comes in different forms, right? On my end, it comes in the type of materials you're using. It comes in the way of reusing a package. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I did listen to a podcast that you did a couple of years back. It was wonderful. I was listening to it in the car, and you were mentioning about sustainability and how it ties in with your business. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as designers and as particular packaging designers, we all have a responsibility. We are putting something out there. As beautiful as it looks, we are creating waste. So you want to learn, and you need to know what impact that's having. And you need to know the things that you shouldn't be doing and the things that have an impact to the environment. And it's really important for us, as an agency, but also as designers, to know what the latest, because it is moving, and the different regulations that are coming in. This is an ever evolving, complex issue, and it's really important for us to provide that knowledge for our clients. First of all, know it ourselves. We get outside speakers who come in, who are the experts in these fields, and they tell us what the latest things are. They tell us what we should be moving and what we should be pushing, what we should be advising our clients to do. So we need to have that knowledge at our own fingertips to then pass it on. And it's also about when we get the brief and we see some things that it might be, we want to elevate it through foiling. Maybe that's not the best thing to actually do, because, we all know how much foil that there is needed to generate just a very small piece of branding. So we're there to advise, and we're there to shine a light constantly on sustainability sustainable issues with our clients and steer them into that. I mean, fortunately, you have over the last, few years, we are seeing that in the top things when the client's briefing us in, things to watch out for, things to, make sure that we are compliant with. So that's good, but they're not in there at all. And it's our duty as an agency to remind our clients that this is, it's all part, we all need to play our part in this.
Thus, the reason they use you is to bring that stuff to light. In that same podcast, you mentioned something that I never really thought of, or I did think of it, but I never put a term to it. You called it tribal identities, where you were talking about, people's connection to certain brands. And it made me think of what we do on this end with PIMS and the customization end of things. Tell me a little bit about on the design aspect of this world, like when your clients are looking for items that can be customized, whether it's for a certain region or a certain, I don't know, male versus female, a region, however it's going to be. How does that play into the whole design aspect when they want to do, they want each one of their packages to be a little bit different than the one that's going out next to them?
Yeah. I mean, we break it down into the semiotics of how something, I mean, it is fascinating because often when we're, as consumers, we're just on automatic pilot. We're buying this particular brand because it's purple. Well, actually, dig deeper. We're buying it because it's lavender. But actually, honestly, I mean, we are creatures of habit.
So true.
And we haven't got time to often read a lot of the things. We might see something because it looks beautiful. Then we're on automatic pilot. We buy it because it's purple, and then we put it in our basket. I've done back in the day, P&G really do invest in kind of research. And I remember spending a whole day with a particular family, just observing them. It was a laundry detergent we were working on. And I went to the supermarket with her just to follow and just chat as she was shopping. And she bought this, actually it was purple. She bought this thing, washing powder, and we were going through the till. And I said, Jude, what made you buy this? And she said, I just love, what did she say? She said, I love lavender. And it wasn't actually lavender, it was blueberry flavor or some kind of raspberry or something. And it wasn't the fact, it was, when you broke it down, she just loved purple. So it wasn't the fact that she loved lavender, it was the fact that she's just an automatic pilot and just buying the things that she enjoys from the color coding. So semiotics is so important. And we love breaking that down to whether that's for a particular shape language, whether it's a category color cue. So we have to have all that information, but that doesn't, whilst we understand that, it shouldn't be the thing that you need to just fit in with everyone else, because then you're not going to really stand apart. So it's one of those fine balances. You need to understand what the semiotics are in that particular area, but you don't want to follow them too closely. Otherwise, you're just going to sink into that whole world of purple, for example. It's fascinating.
You tied that nicely into what we were talking about with the algorithms and the AI, that data, that information that back in the day you would be scribbling on a notepad or putting into an Excel chart somehow to keep track of, now can be fed into these systems where they can come up with the conclusions for you in Snap versus, you walking around a supermarket for days at a time.
Exactly.
I saw you at Beauty Matters Future 50 not too long ago.
Yeah.
And
it was great.
It was fabulous. But what was equally fabulous was you had just posted shortly thereafter on LinkedIn. I saw you sort of with a breakdown of, what you learned and the do's and the, it was mesmerizing. It was really well done. I wanted to tip my cap to you. I was going to reach out to you, but I was like, I'll wait till the podcast and say something to you. I think you do a really good job with that. I mean, that just comes from years of doing and learning and failing and doing again. And I tip my cap to you. It ties in with what I wanted to ask you. So, I know with Inacos and the Beauty Vibe, and I'm just reading some of the other stuff. Beauty Matters, CEW, you've done judging gigs. Yeah. Tell me, A, how do you find the time? You're running a company, you're doing all this hard work. And two, what do you get out of it? There's a certain aspect that you want to be seen and heard. That's great, and absolutely, I do the same. But it's a little different with you. I can see you're really involved. And tell me,
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I don't do. I mean, I do the main ones, but it doesn't. I mean, there's probably about 6 of them a year or something. It's not like the every week, because I would not be able to run this business or get anything done or service any of the clients or things like that. And believe me, you know what it's like when you're on those trips. You are working, right? You are working still. Your laptop is there.
That's right.
But I adore them, and I think you're very much the same. I think that they're just. I mean, there's so many different ways. The content's really good. So you're all constantly learning. You're constantly listening to founders, to CEOs who've gone through various ups and downs. And I find that those discussions, those panel discussions that everyone has, everyone's very honest. And I think within the beauty industry, what I particularly like is that there is a very strong community. There's a strong vibe. And I think everybody's out there to support each other. And you probably don't get that in many other sectors. I always find that there's a stiff competition. You shouldn't be talking to this particular brand. But I think within the beauty industry, not only does everyone network in a way that you may have worked at that particular business at S.2, and now you're not, and now you're at Henkel or whatever. It's an evolving community. And I really like that. And I think everyone's very accepting, and everyone shares the knowledge and shares the wealth and yeah, I think from that perspective, it's really good. I never go into all of those things thinking this is a new business opportunity. Yeah. Of course, it's a networking area, but I'm there to make friends, really. I'm there to make contacts as much as you are. And whether that's a supplier, whether it's a client, there's no difference.
Equally important, right?
Knowledge sharing. And I think that's the for me personally, and I'm sure there's probably other businesses that have a different agenda for going, but it's to learn, and it's to make great friends and actually have a really good laugh, because that's what you're there for as well. You know, you've got to enjoy yourself.
It's wonderful. Tell me, as we conclude here, I mentioned as we went into that question, to be in your business, you know, to be as successful as you are, there has been major ups and major downs. There's been, you know, times where you probably were like, you know, forget this, I'm not doing this anymore. And other times where you're like, I'm the king of the world. What would you say to somebody who's getting in, maybe a design, somebody that's in school right now that's focusing on design, loves the art, wants to get into it, but doesn't know what these steps are going to be? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I look back at, you know, and you know, we see the junior team, or we have an internship program here. It's just to be that, you know, just enjoy and take on everything. Ask as many questions as possible. Challenge yourself, and just really try out lots of different agencies as well as you grow. You're going to eventually learn where you want to go. You're going to eventually learn what kind of business you want, if you do want to do that. But that's not the be all and end all of running or of owning a business. Just see which side of design as well that you enjoy, and what kind of branding, what kind of categories rock your world, what do you feel that you excel in, and just keep asking yourself and you're pushing yourself. I think that's the best thing about creativity, is that you can do a lot with it, and you can channel your passions into lots of different areas. And I think just even within branding, from design to communications and all the different sectors. So I think that just try as much as possible at that early age. I think that don't settle down too quickly. Just experience as much as you can.
Well said. Great advice. Nick, I have a lightning round here that I'm going to throw at you. Take 1 minute. These are one-word answers, yes, no questions. Okay. I want you to tell me what pops into your head, the first thing that pops into your head. Are you ready? I also broke it.
This is like therapy. What happens if
I was going to do all design questions, but half the ones that I found, I didn't know what they even meant, so I had to take those out. So I mixed it between design questions and Leonardo da Vinci questions. So Here we go. Are you ready?
Come on.
Nick, what is your favorite font?
Oh my God. I like really clean thing. I'm going to just say, because it's so boring, Gotham.
Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop?
Illustrator.
CMYK, PMS, or RGB color mode?
Or RGB.
Branding or packaging design?
Branding.
Hand-drawn elements or digital art?
Digital.
Now on to the Leonardo stuff. The Mona Lisa or the Last Supper?
Oh my God. I love The Last Supper.
Artist or scientist?
Artist.
Painter or inventor?
Oh, inventor.
Anatomy studies or engineering designs?
Oh, a bit of anatomy.
And finally, architectural designs or mathematical studies?
Oh no, architectural. I love those. Well
Isn't it great?
researched.
You
That
passed the
was
lightning
so
round.
good.
There you go. Nick Vaus, thank you so much for joining us on Minutes with Mike. It's been our pleasure. And if you haven't checked out Free the Birds, please do. He's wonderful. Thank you again.
Mike Ryan, you're the best.
Thank you, buddy.